Take me 2 years later. Drinking some Gatorade. All right, Wild Willie here. I'm going to take a walk in Willie's world. All right, we're going to talk about a cool concept. I like to switch it up, change it, make it different. I love my intellectual freedom. So we're going to just paint a picture here, try to get it out. All right, so what makes you alive? What is the part in you that makes you alive? It makes your family alive, your wife, your husband, your kids, your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers, anybody you see on the street, your dog. What makes your dog alive? What is it that makes your dog? Have you ever seen a dead dog or a dead cat? They're dead. They're dead. They're not alive, and their bodies are different when they're dead than they are when they're alive. It's weird. What makes them alive? What is it? This is like the great question. Some people call it soul, spirit, God, consciousness, one. What is it? Right? I'm going to call it God consciousness. I'm going to call it God consciousness. Everybody has God conscious in them. Infinite, call it that. Infinite consciousness, infinite knowledge, God consciousness. Whatever, that's what I'm calling it. Everybody has that in them. The part that makes me alive, you alive, and me look at you and see the aliveness in you, and you look at me and see the aliveness in me. That's God consciousness, man. Pure neutral awareness. Like you shine a light on something. The light is the God consciousness. There's no meaning. There's no evaluation. It's just light. But then we've got this God consciousness in our human form. So the human form has a consciousness too, separate from God consciousness. Human consciousness is me. It's how I work. It's what I like. It's who I am. It's this body. It's this mind. It's this personality. It's my quirks, my eccentricities, my thoughts, my preferences, everything I know, everything I think. This is human consciousness. My human consciousness is going to be similar to yours, but it's going to be a little different. Ours are going to be similar to an animal's, but it's going to be a lot different. Everything that exists has God consciousness in it, but it also has its form consciousness, whatever it is. Right? So, when we are born, God consciousness, like if you're stillborn baby, you don't have God consciousness in you. You're dead. Just like the dead dog, right? A live dog's got God consciousness in him. He's alive, he's happy, he's going, he's good. The moment you die, God consciousness leaves the body. Right? It leaves the body the moment you die. So the moment you're born, you're alive. God consciousness enters into the body. All right? So this is the concept right here. This human form and the human consciousness, embodied in this form, is the prison for my God consciousness. If you just sit and you just stare and you don't think and you just look around, your consciousness can't leave your body. But you look around and you see there's space outside of your body. You look at your body, it's confined to this body. Your God consciousness is confined to your body. It is a prisoner to this body. My prison sentence is 84 years, 90 years, 77 years, 100 years, however long the life is. However long I live for, that's the prison sentence for my God consciousness. My God consciousness wants to go out and be free, but he can't. He is a prisoner to this human consciousness. And when the God consciousness has to face that reality of his prison, which is the human form consciousness, that's when the problems arise. If the God consciousness can remain as it is, neutral, aware, God consciousness, if it can remain aware of itself, then there's no problems. The problem is when the God consciousness has to face the reality of his prison. Okay? So a good example of that is the psychological concept of triggers, emotional triggers. If you've ever been in a situation where things are good and then something happens and you are not good, that's a trigger. You were triggered, right? Triggered into an intense emotional response or reaction. So that's when the God consciousness is faced with the reality of the human consciousness. The human consciousness has got all the rules in it that says, I was treated like crap as a child, so, I deserve to be treated like crap now, and I'm going to treat others like crap. You see? That's the rules. Or I was treated good as a child, and when somebody treats me like crap, especially who they are, depending on who they are, these are all the rules of human consciousness, then I'm going to freak out. There's going to be a problem. You see, my God consciousness, boom, he's in the prison. You see what I'm saying? So, we can't necessarily get parole or escape the prison, but how do we find peace of mind? How do we find joy? How do we remain in God consciousness so we don't have to have any problems in the life, right? Well, there's kind of three ways. So the first way is you can practice residing in God consciousness. Practice being aware of the present moment. Practice being aware of the breath. Practice being aware of the sensations taking place in your body. Practice being aware of your body. Like, God consciousness doesn't just go out your eyes. Like, he's in the body, so God consciousness can experience any part of the body, the whole body at one time, one part of the body, a different part of the body. He can experience the outside atmosphere on the body. You see? You can direct the God consciousness outside of the body on some object. But it doesn't much matter. It's just being present. Practicing being present helps. It helps. Over a long period of time, it really helps. So another way to do it is to kind of do whatever you want to do. In a sense. When you force yourself to do something you don't want to do, you're suppressing some part of you. You're suppressing, this is human form consciousness, you're suppressing your ego. If your body and your human consciousness is the prison, God consciousness is the prisoner, your ego, he's like the warden. He keeps order in the prison. He keeps the order in the prison. He can't necessarily control if the prisoners are going to have a riot or whatever, but you know what I'm saying? So when you force yourself in the life to do something you don't want to do, like you go on a really long run, you don't normally run, you come home and you eat a big freaking pizza, that's the result of that suppression. Are you suppressing some part of yourself to do something you don't want to do? And that's good, but then it's the energy is suppressed and it's going to come back and it's going to express itself. This is the problem. So what do? Okay, and how do you acknowledge that and go into God consciousness, because that's where we want to be. You do what you want to do. You do whatever really passionately and actively interests you right now. And if you do that, it's going to take you to God consciousness. When I was younger, 18, 19, 20, 17, 21, 22, I was really into music. Playing all the instruments, writing songs, playing in bands, doing all that stuff. I did that because that's what took me into God consciousness. That was like my life at that time period. Now, that's not so mentally and physically stimulating to me anymore. I started learning how to make guitars, and that takes me into God consciousness. If I had a partner, it'd be rock climbing. Rock climbing takes me into God consciousness. Boom. Really, really strongly, because it's so mentally and physically stimulating. So whatever is most mentally and physically stimulating to you at this moment is probably going to be whatever, I don't know what that activity is going to look like for you specifically, but that's going to be what's going to take you into God consciousness. So That's a really good way to get into it too. That's kind of the best way, I think, because we want to do it. Practicing what you don't want to do is good. Practicing being aware is good. Sometimes we don't want to practice being aware. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we're reacting so much in the human form consciousness that we see, oh man, I'm just like expending so much energy just reacting continuously. I just need to go into God consciousness and just be present in this moment. You see, but sometimes we don't want to sit down and not move. Sometimes we don't want to focus on the breath, and that's kind of hard. And that will really help you in the long run if you practice doing that. But there's going to be that ego expression afterwards because of the suppression. So the way around that is to have an activity that you really want to engage in that totally takes you into God consciousness. So, science and psychology call it the flow state. You hear about that, where your flow state, where you are gone. Human consciousness form is gone. So anyways, those are two ways. The third way is really interesting. Pain is the third way. Sometimes in the life, when the pain becomes so great in your life, the human consciousness, human form consciousness, he created the pain. He really did. And that's the science of human form consciousness. It's like something happens in the life, some unwanted thing. There's a belief that says life should play out like this. An unwanted thing happens. The belief and the reality are not met. This creates a bad feeling in the body. And the mind says, oh, that is hurt. That is anger. This is pain. This is what that feeling is. And then the mind's going to say, oh, this is pain. And then the body's going to create more pain. And then the mind's going to say, oh, that is pain. And then the mind creates pain. And then the body creates more pain. And it goes on and on and on and on and on and on until the pain becomes so great that the human form consciousness just lets go. It just releases itself. And God consciousness is there all along, and he takes over. See, he's facing the reality of the prison of the form consciousness, but he can't do anything until the human form lets go. And that happens a lot, especially, when we're really reactive or we don't know how to live, and we just create chaos in our lives, and then we have to deal with that and face our karmas. And that creates a lot of awakening experiences for people, multiple awakening experiences every time, where it's so sudden, he just lets go, and then the God consciousness is what's left over. So yeah, I'm not gonna say go out and create pain for yourself, but that's a way to do it. All right, okay, so let's see. Hopefully we covered the concept good enough so you kind of understand, and then hopefully the three ways make sense. Practicing being present, doing what you want to do that really takes you into total presence where you are not there anymore. God consciousness is totally embodying everything you're doing, or pain. All right, so anyways, hope that made sense and you liked it. I'm going to go back to my snacks. See you next time.